Okay, so what we're doing is we're taking our temperature project, the ones that's in How To 6.1, and we're gonna flesh it out a little bit more. Okay. Now, if you remember in How To 6.1, we get a series of temperatures coming in Celsius, I think, right? And we're to figure out which one's the highest one, and then tell back to the program or to the user of the program what month that was as a number. Okay, that's what the original assignment was. So we're going to take that and we're going to enhance that a little bit more. So this is the characteristics of your program as they as it comes in. We look at the input. The input's not going to change. We'll be getting our input from the user, just like in the original assignment. So in the original assignment, if you remember, they go to the input buffer on the output window, and they type in a series of 12 numbers. And those 12 numbers will correspond to the high temperatures for that month. So that doesn't change. So let's put that in. So the user types in 12 temperatures, one for each month. We're not storing these temperatures anywhere. All we're keeping track of is as they enter those temperatures, we're keeping track of the highest one. So the first one will start out where it's considered to be the highest because that's the only one we've had so far. So we'll set that to the highest, and then the next one will come in and we'll say, is this greater than the highest one? If it is, we'll replace it. If it isn't, we'll just stay with the highest from the previous month. And we go through that way. But again, that's already in the code example in the book. Now I want to use some of the classes that we've created through this course. And so one of them is we want to prompt the user to type in the month, but it would be nice, instead of putting the month number there, it would be nice to use the month name. So the prompt would be, what was the high temperature in January? And they would put in the high temperature. What was the high temperature in February? And then they put in the answer. Where are we going to get January and February from? Okay, so what I'd like you to do is use your date class. We spent all this time creating the date class. Remember the date class? You put in a number, it spits out a name. So you need to include your date class into this solution. So use date class. So that's the second requirement. Use that date class. We have it there. We've already done all the work. All we have to do is pass in a number. It spits out a month. So we go through this process. It'll ask you the high temperatures for each month. We type all those in, and we figure out what the maximum is as we're typing them in, as the user typing them in. And now we want to show the user which month had the highest temperature. So we keep track of that. And I think that's already in the how-to that we've already done, or should have already done. So here we'll use the date class again, because right now it'll have a month number there. We've got to translate that, and you would say, July had the highest temperature. So don't say 6 or 7, you would say July. So again, you use the date class for the output. So again, we're just making that translation again. So we use the translation method to prompt them and also to tell them which one was the highest one. Now all these temperatures are in Celsius, right? And so what we want to do there is we want to convert the Celsius temperature into a Fahrenheit temperature and show that temperature as a Fahrenheit value. So then here's another question to the class is, well, which class have we built that allow us to do that? Right at the beginning of the term we did a conversion class, right? And we had all those metric to English measure translation methods. So here we're going to pull in that class so we can use that to translate our Celsius temperature into a Fahrenheit temperature. So I'll put that here then. So what we're doing is we're kind of going through our classes that we've already built, and now we're actually using them to come up with solutions, right? We kind of did some test programming. Well, this is where actually we use them for real. Okay? So we use the conversion class. So any other classes we need here? In our assignment, we saw after the code example something called a dataset. And it's the dataset we want to use to keep track of these highest and lowest values. So all the code for the dataset is in the book. So you'll have to create the dataset class, and then I'll give you some hints on how to incorporate the data set into this project. So we have 4 classes altogether. There'll be the test class, there'll be the date class, there'll be the conversion class, there'll be the dataset class. Dataset class is in the book. Conversion class you already done. The date class has already been finished, right? All 3 of those are done. You don't have to do anything with those other than type in the dataset code. The only thing you have to write is the driver program. Okay, so the final requirement is use the dataset class to store. So those 4 classes, get them all to work together so that we can come up with a program that will tell you the highest temperature for the year. It spits out the months and spits out the temperature, but this time in Fahrenheit. Right? Any questions on the final project? Okay, so I'm going to be frantically typing in the dataset class and see what the gotchas are on that one. And I'll help you implement that into your program. But at least what I would focus on first is getting all these classes into the same project. So how do you do that? So let me show you how to do that. So here I'm creating a new project. You might follow along, so you don't have to try to remember this. Just call it Final Project. Here's our leap year project. In here I have my date class. Let's see if this one's complete. Yeah. Lots of stuff in the date class. So what you can do is, and make sure you've already turned in the assignment for the date stuff, but then you can just grab the whole class and drag it up into this package. And it sees that we're moving it. And right now, in the date class, it has a different package name. So it asks us here, hey, do you want to move our date class up to this other program? The answer is yes. And I want to refactor. And what that will do is it will change the package name from leap year into final project inside the date2 source file. So I say refactor. It says there's errors. Yeah, it doesn't see a dependency there between the two. And so it's asking us, are you sure you want to move this because you're not using the date class inside your project yet? And we say, yeah, we want to do that. So it's just a double check. And then it finally moves it. Okay. So now we have our date class in our final project. Next, we need to find our conversion class. I don't think I have that open yet. So we have this library of conversion functions. And yours will be larger. I didn't flesh mine out very much, but it's got Fahrenheit to Celsius there, Celsius to Fahrenheit. Those are the ones we need. That's all prepackaged in our metric conversion library. So again, we're going to take that and we're going to drag that up into the final project folder. We'll say refactor. It warns us again, hey, you're not using it yet. Yeah, I know, because I haven't written the code yet, but and say refactor. And now our conversion library is up there too. So we have our date class now, our final project class, our metric conversion class. The last project, or the last class we're going to use is our dataset class. I haven't created that, you haven't created it yet, but in your book, it's actually in the book. So create it there. You don't need the tester, you just need the dataset class. And let's just take a quick peek at that dataset class. It's actually in the slides. So. Here's the code. You have a data set. It has a sum. Keeps track of the sum. It keeps track of the maximum, and it also keeps track of the count as numbers come in. So here's the constructor. Just initializes everything to 0. Here's the add method. As you add stuff in, what you're doing is you're keeping track of the sum, so kind of like a running total of all the temperatures. And then you keep doing this. Let's see, where would the loop be? I guess it's in the tester. Yeah. So you keep doing this. Each time they add a new temperature, you just test it, or you add it to the sum, and then you test it to see if it's the new maximum. If it is, then you reset the maximum value. And then here we say get the average. Say you want to get the average temperature of all the temperatures came in. That would be a cool one to answer. Now the average temperature of the Earth, has anyone hear that news story from yesterday? Yeah, they just figured out that 2015 was the hottest temperature ever in recorded history globally. So the temperatures are going up. Just imagine you're writing a program to keep track of all that. And so you've got the average temperatures, say for Portland, trying to compare it to previous years. This might be a program to help you do that. And then there's one last method that will print out the maximum. As you put numbers in, it keeps track of the maximum. When you're done with that, off you go. Again, all of this is in the book. We're going to use something, well, no, we're not going to use that test function. Here's the actual tester, but we're not doing that one. We don't need the analyzer, we just need the dataset class. So going back to our calendar entry then, for the final project. Here's the output then. So show the month with the highest temperature, show the highest temperature in Fahrenheit, show the average. So that's the output for your program is show the month with the highest temperature, show the highest temperature in Fahrenheit, and show the average temperature. Okay? So I think that's it. Luckily, most of this code is already written. All you have to do is figure out how to pull them together and call them. Any questions? All right, I'll let you work. If you have questions, though, it's not like it's a test. It's a final project, but I'm certainly open for questions. So if you're stumped and you need some help, raise your hand. I'll come and help. Okay? All right, because you're not on your own on this. So. This is typically what you do when you're writing code, is you don't write a lot of code. You go and you grab libraries from all these different places, pull them all together and come up with a solution. If there's a library you have, that's when you write code. But don't reinvent the wheel. If the code's already there, use that. Yeah, okay, so I'll come over and we'll get started.